Hey, it's Dave. Welcome back to my channel. So the other day, I was playing a gig, and I brought out the white guitar that I put together from the Mexican Strat, the DiMarzio pickups, the Warmoth Wenge neck with an ebony fingerboard. And all my other Strats have one has a Wilkinson. That's the Gary Kramer. The 17th Street has a Goto 1080 bridge. And then my three Fenders all have the deluxe bridge, which has the smoother saddles. So the saddles on this Mexican Strat were killing my hand. I was like, oh, this has got to go. I was either thinking of filing down the screws that stick up, and then I just said, you know what, I think I even like the look better. So I went and bought the Graph Tech saddles, which you can see here. They're smooth. They're great. Really feel the difference when I practice now and I play. It's like I can move my hand over here and mute on it. It's just great. But anyway, so this is it's a Mexican Strat. So I put the Graph Tech saddles on the bridge, and then the neck is Wenge with an ebony fingerboard, pearl dots, but you can see the Wenge really has some nice grain to it. It's nice and dark. And because of that, the logo I put on, I had the logo lasered in, and then I've had it filled with acrylic paint and then sealed. And, you know, some people have asked me why I put the Fender logo on it. It's a Fender. I mean, all I did was change the neck because I wasn't crazy about the neck that it comes with. But the Fender that I got, it's a licensed Fender headstock. It's a Strat, so. And I also love the look of the big logo on the smaller headstock, the Dan Smith style. For those of you that don't know, Dan Smith, I believe, was like a salesman at Fender in the early 80s, late 70s. And one of the things he did was he brought back the small headstock, which is now referred to as the Dan Smith Strat from like 1981, where it's a small headstock, but they use the big logos on it. And then the next year, they went to, which is called the Dan Smith Strat 2, is instead of this is gone, the football jack is gone, and then this is the jack going in. So this is where the output jack is put, and it's just got a lot, and I hate those. But anyway, so that's what I did here. So, you know, someone had asked me what my opinion was on Super Strats and on the 80s thing, and, you know, it's a great question because they didn't really go away, per se, from the marketplace. The marketplace changed and adapted to it. So when you look at like a Super Strat, like, so the whole thing kind of started, I would have to say, with Charvel, the store, before they were making guitars, when Wayne was running it, and they were putting on, and they were doing necks, and then when Grover Jackson took it over, so they were making necks like this, actually, which is, they were making thin C's, but they were making compound radius and flatter radius necks. This, I believe, is a 10 to 16 Warmoth. You know, so it's a 10-inch radius here and a 16-inch radius here. And that's great. You know, because back then, all you really had was the 7 1/4 from Fender, which to me is terrible. You can't really bend. It's not comfortable. I don't really like it. So I grew up on the Super Strats. I grew up on those flat radius. They all had the Floyds back then. And one of the reasons why I just don't like Floyds is dealing with the whole Allen wrench situation. Sometimes I like to be able to tune something on the fly. If I got to throw this in drop D, the way I keep the bridge flat and not floating, I can just drop the D. I could drop double D if I need to. I can drop it to open D. But I can change the tuning as I wish and not have to bring 5, 6 guitars on stage. I mean, I still got to bring if I'm doing a bunch of different tunings too, maybe, but it just makes it easier. So that's kind of why I got out of the Floyd Rose thing. And actually, and really, I wasn't like a super whammy guy to begin with. I did like using it occasionally, but yeah, for the most part, I like all my strats are kind of super strat-ish. You know, they have the characteristics that come with it. So for me, for years, my main guitar was a Kramer Beretta. It was a one pickup, and I put a DiMarzio Fred in there. It had it was white, and it had a 1 3/4 nut width. Or in the Floyd Rose world, it had an R7 nut, which is 1 3/4. When I got my strats, they're like around 1 5/8, which is okay, and it's kind of cool to get used to. And it's got a 9.5 radius, and the Beretta had a 10, so it was a little getting used to. And then several of mine, this one, my yellow one, and the 17th Street, which is the vintage white, all have a 1 3/4 inch nut. So they're the ones I lean to as my favorites. If I got to do stuff that's down here, just it's more comfortable for me. And they also have like the sharpest V-necks. The other ones, the other three, the Fenders are soft V's, which I prefer the harder V. You know, the 80s thing kind of went away. I want to say like right around the time, and I remember when the Cult started getting real big in the mid to late 80s, and Guns N' Roses came out and Nirvana came out, and basically everybody wanted vintage instruments again. And you know, there's something to be said about that classic look, because when I see, you know, guys playing with the pointy headstocks and whatnot, I just think like, I don't know, it's not my favorite. But I think you can get away with doing, you know, with having the luxuries of what those Super Strats had without having to give in to that look, you know, because now that was the 80s and we were kids and we were young and the bands were young that played it. Now you get older, you kind of, you know, your taste change and everything else. But, so for the most part, I kind of like don't care for that 80s look. It's, it was there and gone for me. I was with it when it happened, and now I'm much more into a conservative Strat look. And, you know, I think it's like cool like to play a telly and to be able to rip on a telly. You know, number one for the sound of the telly, but it's also like the look of it. You know, it's like when you see Richie Kotzen play those tellies and Strats. You know, he shreds. It's great. And you see it on a regular guitar, as when you see like Paul Gilbert, even though I think Paul Gilbert's like one of the greatest shredders ever. He's probably my all-time favorite of the shredders. But when you see him playing that type of guitar, you kind of like, yeah, you expect it. So there's something to be said for that. But that has to do a little bit with image and whatnot. And you know, it's funny because a lot of people don't really put a lot of thought into that, into the image and what that means. But the people that put the money out, they do. So, moving on. I haven't made a video in a while. It's been like a week. I got back into the gym. I got to get myself back into shape. I've been feeling like super lethargic. So this is Friday, and I just did the whole week. And so my goal is to get back to where I was by the end of June. It's like my guess. So we'll see how that goes. Doing cardio every day and a different body part every day. So we'll see.
What's with all the questions?
So another thing that's hard for me to do sometimes is to respond to so many comments coming in. So I do apologize if I just click like. That just means I read it. But sometimes I'm getting it, and it's just I can't really respond. Recently there was a guy messaging back and forth about my video on tone wood and all that stuff. And, you know, I don't, like, the video's there. I've said what I had to say. So, you know, someone came back to me and they keep going back to me about the science and then telling me about science, but ignoring the laws of physics. And they keep bringing up the forced resonance and saying that it affects the string, but the laws of physics says it cannot. So in that respect, it's just, I find it funny because when someone argues science and then they say, but they're arguing something that the pickup can't see. But I want to talk a little bit about microphonics because people have this misunderstanding that a pickup is somewhat microphonic and therefore it's picking up the wood of the tone wood. All right, let me just tell you right now, it's not. It's absurd. And a pickup that's microphonic, the output of that sound is very minute, that the second you strum the strings, you only hear the frequency of the vibrating string. That's all being reproduced. The output from anything being microphonic until it gets to the level of feedback. So if you have a problem with a microphonic pickup, you're still not hearing the wood of that guitar, just so you know. It's impossible. You're hearing something at a volume that's like this, like minimal, and then all of a sudden your sound comes in. You aren't hearing this. And for me to tell you what to do is to go take a splitter and go plug a guitar into a splitter, and then go take an amp and put the amp on very soft, and then put a Marshall 100 watt on the other one and turn it up to 4, and then tell me how you think the little amp that you can't hear is affecting the final tone coming out of that Marshall amp. It's not. You're not going to hear anything different. You're not hearing it. It doesn't matter. And that's only if you have a poorly microphonic pickup, which you shouldn't have, especially with today, with the potting and everything else. If you have it or the wires are loose, get it rewound. But you shouldn't have a microphonic pickup. That's affecting you that bad. So, that being said, I didn't get a chance to record any music today because I just didn't have anything to work on. I didn't really feel like it. So I didn't put any music up today. But someone else was asking, okay, so a lot of times where I get my background tracks is I'll go on either YouTube or I'll just Google it and there's a website of background tracks. Once in a while, I go to this pay site. They charge me $1.99, and I can take out what I want out of the song. And I think it's called like karaoke something. And then sometimes I can find, like in the case of Fooled Around and Fell in Love, I took a karaoke track that I didn't pay for. It was just online. You could download it. And I cut it up so that the verse was where the solo was, and I had to double that up. But then you can hear when it comes out of the solo, it actually goes back into the chorus. But that's not how the record goes. When it comes out of the solo, the long solo, it goes into the last verse, or it could be the third verse, but it's the last verse. So that's what I did. That's what I did there. And again, a lot of times, every time you hear me, I'm coming out of a Fender Mustang 2 version 2 that's USB'd into my computer. So I'm not using any super high-tech stuff here. And the other thing is someone had said to me when I showed that white guitar the first time, I should show all the pickups. Yeah, I know Mark Agnesi does that on Norman's rare guitars, and that's fun because he's showing like 3 songs, if it's a 3 pickup, or 5 songs, just so he can kind of deal with the sound. You're not going to, I mean, here if I play something, it's going to sound like whatever I want it to sound like, and it's really not going to show you. I could, trust me, I get good pickups and they sound good. You know what I mean? But it's not going to tell you to go out and get them. If you want them, I would highly recommend them. I use a Pro 54 in the bridge, and I use a 58, Area 58 and Area 58 in the middle of the neck, and I use that on 1, 2, 3. I have that on 4 guitars. Another thing I do is I have a Fred, a humbucker in the back. I use an Area 61 in the middle with that, and I use a 58 in the neck with that. And then I have a red Strat that has a DiMarzio transition in the bridge. But I don't know if I have the transition bridge or if I put the neck in. I can't remember what I did. But I have a transition in the bridge, and then I have the Pro 54 in the middle and the injector in the neck. All DiMarzio. And I'll be putting together a new guitar, a new Strat. In fact, I'll show you that. So I'm still waiting on the neck to come in from Warmouth. The neck is going to be maple fingerboard on a maple neck. No position markers, just a skull and crossbone on the 12th fret. And then this is the body. So the body I got on eBay for $140. It's a relic Strat style body. I think it's from a Strat. I put the Babbitt's bridge on it. It's a DiMarzio Fred in the bridge. I forget which one is in the middle. I think it's the HS2 by DiMarzio. And then the next pickup's a virtual 2.2 in the neck. Well, that could be reversed. I can't really remember because I pulled it out of a guitar and I really didn't change anything. It was out of a guitar that a builder, Leo Scala, had done for me, and I just swapped the fret out and I kept the other two in, but I can't remember which one is which. The pick guard, I believe, is brushed steel, and I got that from a company out in Australia that does it. And I'll put that company's name. I think they're called Pro Steel pick guard. I'm not sure, but I'll put that company's name in the description because they make really cool metal pick guards. And then I'm still waiting for Warmouth when they send the neck to send me the back plate, which I just got a solid black back plate here. The neck plate I have already in the bag. So this is going to be my next build. And it should be fun. Like a little shredder. Oh, it's also going to be reverse headstock. So it'll be a fun little shredder. Other than that, I'll start doing a few more lesson videos. I've had a few requests, so I know what I got coming in the queue. And very good.
How's that for a topper?
You're right on target.
Right on the money. Everything you said.
You hit the nail right on the head with your comments, what you're saying today.
You're 150% correct.